Welcome back to 340 Paddler, and we are on to week 17. So we are getting to that point. You're probably around the end of April, give or take. You are on the water. So where do we go from here? Hopefully not here. This would be the Yukon, but you get the idea. So let's start with cardio. Week 16, pretty straightforward. For the finisher to 60-hour crowd, pretty much exactly where you've been. And this is exactly where you'll stay, and you hear me say that every week. But I want to give you some assurance that that's what we're dealing with. You can always increase these totals. I mean, you can slowly increase the run 1 mile per week. So you're doing up to, so you'd have a 4 mile run, a 4 mile run, and a 5 mile run, and then building from there. You could do the same with the bike or the swim in appropriate increments. Usually about 10%, give or take, is an appropriate increment for increase. But remember, that's not necessarily the most important aspect of your training. For week 17, you're doing exactly the same thing. So again, individualize this as you see fit. Cardio is always good. The discipline that you get from the cardio is always good. For those of you shooting for the sub 50, we're up to our almost maximum mileage. You can always increase from here, but this is as far as I'm going to take you. So 2 4-mile runs and a 10-mile run. That 10-mile run is important. Usually what I would do is do the 10-mile run immediately after my long day paddle. So that is one very long day, but we don't all have 6 hours once a week to throw into something like that. And I come up with 6 hours based on the time on the water, the time running, and the time transitioning in between, as well as prepping beforehand and cleaning up after. So you can from here increase further, but I would stick to this 2x4 miles and 1x10 mile for at least 2 weeks. Then you can even increase it so that you do a 4 and a 5, a 5 and a 5, a 5 and a 6, etc. So you would extend the short side of it, not the long side. So let's talk about interval long day. Not much is changing here. You should be on the water. So of course this has probably reset. Should be in good shape. Basically, you want to make sure that you are coming off the water as exhausted as possible. And really you shouldn't be doing interval training much longer than an hour. Now, for some people, you just want to do the cardio side of it. That's fine. Go out and do, say, 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours every day or every other day, and that's perfectly fine. In terms of schedule, same thing we've been dealing with. So let's deal with what you're going to be coming across by the time you get to the end of April or May, which is you're probably going to start racing. The Epic Shootout, as one example at the end of April. So what happens if you discover that your whatever is weak? In this case, I'm going to use tricep as an example because I've been there. I went up to South Dakota a couple of years ago. Everything was fine, but my triceps were absolutely killing me and absolutely gave out during the race. So what do you do in that case? First of all, relax. So muscular development to build strength happens relatively quickly, at least to a point that it is functional strength for what you're doing. So you don't have to worry that much. Second, make sure that this is a weakness and not an injury. Now, the easiest way, or the way that I deal with it, is I look at the type of pain that I'm getting. Is it sore and fatigued? Is it a dull ache? Or are we dealing with a very sharp pain? Is there any bruising or discoloration? Does the muscle suddenly look different? If any of those are true, it's likely an injury, and that's where you want to start seeking medical attention. If it's a weakness, then it will go away, just like any other soreness from strength training, in 48 to 72 hours. So, okay, we've determined that it's a weakness. Where do we go from there? Start simple. Honestly, start looking at PT exercises or very simple exercises for whatever the muscle is that is giving you trouble. So for example, with a tricep, a simple tricep extension like this could be the easiest way and could be plenty for what you need to do. Also, keep in mind that oftentimes you'll find a weakness in a short race, say a 20-mile race or a 50-mile race, and it's weak for that because you're going faster. When you get to the 340, it turns out that it's not that important because you're going slower on the 340. But start simple. Where do you find these simple exercises? Well, start with PT. So look up physical therapy for tricep, etc. You'll want to deal with, they'll give you the stretches, they'll give you mobility exercises, and then usually they'll give you strength exercises. Look at what they use for strength and then use that. It's usually the best bet. You don't want to start out by doing a long set of, say, 6 tricep exercises every other day, because while it will work at some point, it may do more harm than good. Finally, if you're discovering this in April, May, time's on your side. You have 6-8 weeks or more until the race, so relax. You can strengthen, say, a tricep to the point where it will be perfectly fine for the 340 in probably 3 to 4 weeks. So time's on your side. You're fine. If your core is sore, then start doing more core exercises. But the point is, relax, take it one step at a time. You might do one exercise 1 week, and then you can change the exercise, or maybe add a second one in the second week and see how that goes. But don't forget that you need to train everything else as well. So whatever you're supplementing with should be done in a way that you can do it in, say, 10 or 20 minutes. Something you can do every morning. And kind of go from there. If it takes much longer, then it might eat into the rest of your training and actually become a problem. After all, we're just trying to get you to St. Charles, and in a fashionable way, much like Joe Mann here. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, quarrels, qualms, quandaries, curse words, please leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, this is 340 Paddler, hoping that you keep your paddle in the water.